Dear students, my name is Prem Kumar K, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Chikbalapur. I am going to teach for course BA. The subject is Optional English for the semester 5th. My part is short fiction by Rajinder Singh Bedi and the topic is Lajwanti. Before getting into the short story Lajwanti, let us know the brief background of partition literature and introduction to the poet Rajinder Singh Bedi. Rajinder Singh, before getting into the Rajinder Singh Bedi's introduction, let us know about the partition literature. The partition of Indian subcontinent in 1947 was one of the most cruel and the biggest and most painful events in human history. Thousands died, families were divided, and the nation was divided. Millions of refugees crossed the border to seek asylum. The inarticulate pain, trauma, angst, and violence they went through are beyond belief and even imagination. They lost their hearth and homes and even their lives, became aliens in their own country and were treated inhumanly as outsiders, exposed to every lurking danger coming on their way. Years after this event, the perpetrators, the victims, are still baffled, means confused as to cause the madness. The passing of many decades has not been enough to erase the dark imprint of that horribly tormenting experience, which is still etched, means sculpted vividly in the minds of those who were compelled, means forced to undergo the horrific ordeal named partition. The victims of violence were also often its perpetrators. Survivors and refugees, for instance, were often at the forefront of revenge attacks. At times, it seems that all are victims and all are perpetrators. Perhaps an untainted victimhood can only truly be claimed by the iconic figure of a hapless and ravaged woman whose body became the site where notions of community and honor were inscribed and fought over. This traumatic episode in the nation's history has generated an entire body of partition literature offering poignantly and often with brutal honesty the horrifying reality of the partition experience, a maze of brutality, loss, jealousy, cupidity, cunning, death by butchery, by rape, by deracination. The partition of India and the associated bloody riots inspired many creative minds in India and Pakistan to create literary and cinematic depictions of this event. Novels, films, poems, plays have tried and continue to try to capture its tragedy, and authors like Sadat Hassan Manto and Rajinder Singh Bedi are remembered essentially for their disturbing partition tales. Next, we have to move on to Rajinder Singh Bedi's background. Rajinder Singh Bedi, born in 1915 and died in 1984, he was a versatile personality as he was a writer, director, screenwriter, and dialogue writer. Rajinder Singh Bedi is considered one of the greatest 20th century progressive writers of Urdu fiction. Like another great Urdu writer of the time, Saadat Hassan Manto, he is best known for his disturbing partition narratives. Bedi was born near Sialkot, Punjab, that is in Pakistan. He spent his early years in Lahore, Pakistan, where he received his education in Urdu. After partition, his other family members settled in Fazilka on the Indian side of Punjab. Born of a Khatri Sikh father and a Brahmin mother, Bedi began his career as a writer in English, then Punjabi, but it was not until he began writing in Urdu that he found his greatest audience. He published his first collection of short stories, Dana O Dam, in Urdu in 1936. His first short story, Maharani Ka Tohfa, won the best short story of the year given by Adabi Dunia, a prominent Urdu monthly magazine published from Lahore. In 1942, he published his second collection of short stories, Grahan. Rajinder Singh Bedi spent 10 years working as a clerk in a Lahore post office between 1933 and 1943, after which time he briefly took a job with All India Radio from 1943 to 1946. During this period, he wrote many plays, including his famous drama Khawaja Sara and Nakal-e-Makhani, which he later adapted into his film Dastak in 1970. After the partition, Bedi relocated to Delhi and later served a brief stint as station director at Jammu radio station in Kashmir in 1949 before settling in Bombay, where he began his film career as a dialogue writer for Badi Bahan in 1949, though he gained greater recognition for his second film Daag in 1952. He made his directorial debut with Dastak in 1970, followed by Fagun in 1973, Nawab Sahib in 1978, and Aankhon Dekhi 1978. His writing was known for its earthiness and sensitivity. His novella Ek Chadar Maili Si was made into films both in Pakistan and in India, a rare honor which indicates that people on both sides of the border were equal victims of the trauma of partition. Rajinder Singh Bedi passed away in 1984 in Bombay. In his memory, the government of Punjab instituted a Rajinder Singh Bedi Award in the field of Urdu literature. Thank you.